find out what is in it.
How can the Republican majority in this Congress explain to their constituents that trillions of dollars of new debt is good for our economy?
I first learned about the tactics and the phrase Operation Fast and Furious at the beginning of this year.
Hello, everybody. It's Jeff Wagner on the Conservative Voice, logic over emotion, fact over fiction, the home of independent conservative thought. Hope you had a great Easter, not spring break, not whatever the leftists want to call any holiday devoid of its religious significance, its Christian especially significance. Hey, before we get going on tonight's show, kind of on that topic, I don't know if you've seen the news of the big issues with Google not celebrating Jesus on Easter, but rather a Marxist workers leader, Cesar Chavez. I guess, the argument is they're a business and they can make the decision, and historically they haven't really done a lot of recognition of any religions, or from what I know, any recognition in such a way. But just in general, that whole topic got me thinking about the bias, not only by companies such as Google, but MSN. If you look at the MSN search engine or look at the MSN page itself, the stories are all very left-leaning. Always have been. I used to go through that page and get so frustrated that I eventually just never visited again. And now it's getting to the point where I want to do the same thing with Google. So I just went on the internet and I looked up, just did a search term for conservative search engines, and there are a couple out there. Anyway, if you do your own search, you can find them. There's a couple in here. WesternJournalism.com is one that's listed, and there's some others, but pretty worthwhile venture, I guess, because I think people are, at least we conservatives, are sick to death of the mainstream media, and by extension, the hacks on the left that like to run the internet that we all know Al Gore invented somewhere on an iceberg which broke off of Greenland. All right, well, enough of that. Message tonight, here we have in the news, China mobilizing troops in response to the United States sending a warship to the region, and North Korea's saber rattling. Now, China has placed additional military forces and placed them on a heightened alert in the northeastern part of the country. Tensions are mounting on the Korean Peninsula, as you know, or if you don't know, you haven't been watching much of the news or hearing about it. But they are also dedicating more military forces in the form of air power, so more jets, and they've stepped up their military mobilization in the border region, specifically with North Korea. But they're doing it to show support of North Korea, which it isn't a good sign at all, folks. And it makes you question how we got here. And we've talked about this a couple of times on this show. But the complete idiocy of the foreign policy of this administration. And I do have to say, the failure to do the jobs that have been given to them of Congress on both sides of the aisle have led us to this position of weakness, which has led to these second-rate despots having the gonads to step forward and cause trouble. And yes, I think what makes it even more of a issue is that we have several new leaders in the region, and in the case of North Korea, I don't know, maybe the little man wants to prove a point, and maybe he will take things farther than things have gone in the past. Or maybe, just maybe, he is using the old ploy to see if he can get something more out of the U.S. to appease him and keep his regime in power. We'll have to see. But at any rate, it again got me thinking about what is the reason for this. And one thing I want to get out of the way, you've probably heard me make mention on some of the past shows that I do not think that the Republican Party is serving our needs. I think that, I definitely believe in conservative principles, but I think that both the Democrats and the Republicans that we currently have many of them been in office so long that they've forgotten what their real purpose is. And I think they've been subverted by special interests, and they do not have the people's welfare at heart. Now, that is to say, maybe the old guard in the Republican Party, the John McCain's, making ridiculous comments about Rand Paul, showing that he indeed is a rhino. But then we have people like Rand Paul, and we have Rubio, and we have Cruz, and we have a few that really do show some conservative, and in the case of Paul, libertarian values, many of which I happen to agree with as well. Just my opinion. But I think it's important to point out that it's easier not to have an adversarial relationship with other people who maybe are Obama supporters or Democrat supporters when basically, your stance is, as mine is, that the government as a whole is dysfunctional. Both parties are seeking nothing but power and money, and that we need bold people who will get this under control and reduce the size of government and start working for the people who they represent. So along that line of thought, I thought that many of you out there are probably like me, where during the time of CEPAC, where some of these individuals of note spoke, you were probably working, and you did not get the chance to see it. Maybe you've heard bits and pieces of it, but I thought I'd do kind of a CEPAC Rewind show here and pick a few of the presenters out that really do speak to the message of liberty and freedom and conservatism, and at any rate, the direction of small government and less government interference, less regulation, so that you could hear them, and maybe that'd be a good way to get you back on track after the holidays. So, first one I'm going to play is actually Rand Paul, and he is about, I guess, 18 minutes or so, and then we'll take a break after that and come back. But here's Rand Paul.
I also came with a message for the president, a message that is loud and clear, a message that doesn't mince words. Well, that's not exactly what I was thinking. However, I think he may have distilled my 13-hour speech into 3 words. The message for the president is that no one person gets to decide the law. No one person gets to decide your guilt or innocence. My question to the president was about more than just killing Americans on American soil. My question was about whether presidential power has limits. Lincoln put it well when he wrote, "Nearly all men can stand adversity, but if you want to test a man, give him power." President Obama, who seemed once upon a time to respect civil liberties, has become the president who signed a law allowing for indefinite detention of an American citizen. Indeed, a law that allows an American citizen to be sent to Guantanamo Bay without a trial. Now, President Obama defends his signing of this bill by stating that he has no intention of detaining an American citizen without a trial. Likewise, he defended possible targeted drone strikes on Americans by indicating that he had no intention of doing so. Well, my 13-hour filibuster was a message to the president. Good intentions are not enough. The presidential oath of office states, "I will protect, preserve, and defend the Constitution." It doesn't say, "Well, I intend to when it's convenient." Mr. President, good intentions are not enough. We want to know, will you or won't you defend the Constitution? Eisenhower wrote, "How far can you go without destroying from within what you are trying to defend from without?" If we destroy our enemy but lose what defines our freedom in the process, have we really won? If we allow one man to charge Americans as enemy combatants and indefinitely detain or drone them, then what exactly is it that our brave young men and women are fighting for? Montesquieu wrote that there can be no liberty if you combine the executive and the legislative branches. Likewise, there can be no justice if you combine the executive and the judicial branch. We separated arrest from accusation and trial and verdict for a reason. When Lewis Carroll's White Queen shouts, "Sentence first, verdict afterwards," the reader's response is supposed to be, "But that would be absurd. In our country, the police can arrest, but only your peers can convict. We prize our Bill of Rights like no other country. Our Bill of Rights is what defines us. It's what makes us exceptional." To those who would dismiss this debate as frivolous, I say, tell that to the heroic young men and women who sacrificed their limbs and lives. Tell that to the 6,000 parents of kids who died as American soldiers in Iraq and Afghanistan. Tell them the Bill of Rights is no big deal. Tell it to Sergeant J.D. Williams, who's one of my neighbors. He lives in Auburn, Kentucky, a few miles from me. He sacrificed himself to save his fellow soldiers. Tell J.D., who lost both legs and an arm, tell him his sacrifice was great, but that we had to suspend the Bill of Rights he fought for. I don't think so. The filibuster was about drones, but also about much more. Do we have a Bill of Rights? Do we have a Constitution? And will we defend it? In his farewell speech in 1989, Reagan said, "As government expands, liberty contracts." He was right. Government cannot give us our liberty. Our rights come from our Creator.